Hey, Jason. How's it going? Good. Okay. Thanks.
There you go, Councilman. Thank you, sir. Oh my gosh.
Would you call the roll for the city council meeting, please?
I want your door ringing, Joe.
Robert Kraus,
Present.
Jason Blair,
Here.
Scott Singer,
Here.
Terry Kavner,
Here.
David Roberts,
Here.
Mark Ham,
Here.
Glenn Lewis.
Here. Would you please stand and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Item 2 is the consent docket. Item A is receive and approve the minutes of the regular city council meeting held May 5th, 2014. Item B, receive the minutes of the regular Parks Board meeting held April 1st, 2014. Item C is approve and ratify claims and expenditures for FY 2013-2014 in the amount of $3,260,107.99.
Move to approve.
All right, thank you.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second on the consent docket. Any other comments? If not, would you call for the vote, please?
Robert Kraus,
Yes.
Jason Blair,
Yes.
Scott Singer,
Yes.
Terry Kavner,
Yes.
David Roberts,
Yes.
Mark Ham,
Yes.
Glenn Lewis.
Yes. Item carries. Item number 3 is consider rezoning application number RZ-911 located in the southeast quarter of Section 12, Township 10 North, Range 3 West, being south of Northeast 27th Street and west of Bryan Avenue, from A1 Rural Agricultural District to A2 PU Suburban Agricultural District with a permissive use, and approve ordinance number 76914, application by Judith Trussell. Planning Commission recommended approval of this item 5-2.
Mayor and Council, this property is located on North Bryant Avenue. It's north of Northeast 12th Street and on the west side of Bryant. The applicant wishes to remodel the existing home to start a doggy daycare and boarding business with outdoor runs. To accommodate this use, the property must be rezoned to A2 with a permissive use for a pet care facility with outdoor runs. In review of this application, special consideration should be given to the potential adverse effects associated with outdoor dog runs, primarily being noise. Although the site is located in a rural part of Moore, the Lost Creek addition is relatively close, being approximately 100 feet to the east of the proposed daycare building. The property currently has no site-proof screening to help with any noise abatement. The comprehensive plan designates this area as urban density residential. It doesn't anticipate further development in the northern portions of Moore city limits. Because the site will remain agriculture, with the applicant requesting a permissive use, there is no fundamental change in land use designation. Therefore, no comprehensive plan amendment is required at this time. Permissive uses by definition are uses that may not be appropriate in all areas with the underlying zoning due to potentially undesirable characteristics. Each permissive use application should be viewed as unique and evaluated on their individual merits. For dog daycares and boarding businesses, past experience has shown that proper noise mitigation measures are needed for successful operations. This can include things such as site-proof fencing and being an adequate distance from sensitive uses and the presence of existing ambient noise to offset the potential for barking. In this application, the play area of the dogs currently has no site-proof fencing, would be located approximately 100 foot from backyards of single-family homes. It is anticipated that the ambient noise from North Bryant would have some effect in masking barking due to the light traffic loads, but not a significant amount. Although staff does believe that this use is appropriate in a rural setting, ultimately the City Council should decide or determine if a 100-foot setback from single-family homes is adequate. If the Council determines that it is and chooses to approve the rezoning application, Any approvals should be contingent upon requiring site-proof fencing around all outdoor play areas, and that all dogs must be boarded inside for overnight care. I should note that the neighbors of this property have submitted an official protest that is located, the map is located on page 98 of your packet. That does include 71% of the land area within 300 feet radius of the subject property. This is all owners that are not, the current owner owns 2 tracts of land that are south of the site. So this includes all the owners that are not the applicant. A neighborhood meeting was held on May 1st to see if the 2 parties could come together and work out any sort of agreements as to the land use proposal. It was really not successful. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. I know that the applicant is here, and so are the residents of Lost Creek.
Okay, I have one for you, Elizabeth. You
Sure.
said all of the property owners, except the owners of this application, are against it?
That's
Have signed
correct.
it?
That's correct.
Okay.
Elizabeth, do you think there was a pretty good effort made to come to an understanding with the people that live out there, in your opinion?
In
What do
my
you think?
opinion, there was some discussion as to what could the applicant do to make this application more amenable to the residents. The only suggestion that I heard from one of the residents was if they were to relocate the building another 100 foot or so back, that they felt like that would be possibly adequate. That was just one resident. The remaining of the Lost Creek residents were very adamant that there was really nothing that they could do that would make this
Okay, thank you.
acceptable.
And they already have this located on a portion of the property now?
Correct. The applicant does operate an existing dog boarding facility. It is located at 1701 North Bryant. It's just right next door, just right to the south of this particular lot.
Okay.
What are the applicant's options if they don't, if this doesn't pass? Are they still going to be able to operate a facility there based on what they have? And would there, and I'm asking multiple questions, I apologize, but would this be an improvement to the area if they were allowed to, if this passed and they were allowed to try and at least make the aesthetics better?
Well, I can answer that. Yes, the applicant is currently operating a business with dog boarding at 1701. It's in an older metal building. It does have fenced-in areas for outdoor runs. So the city believes that that is grandfathered in, and so they could continue to operate out of that building as long as they meet the requirements of the grandfather clause. That means that they cannot make improvements to the building that would be more than 50% of the area of the building or the value of the building. So basically they could operate it almost just as is. As to the aesthetics of it, I do know that the applicant has a presentation that she would like to show. She is in full, her contention is that it would absolutely help the aesthetics of it. If you've seen the existing metal building, it needs some help for sure. So yeah, I mean, this would be aesthetically more pleasing. But the applicant can say more to that.
Okay, let's have her up there.
Elizabeth, before you go, if the current business were to go away, that property, would the next person that bought that property be able to do a dog daycare?
It has to sit vacant for more than 6 months for the grandfather clause to go away.
Okay,
So if someone comes in right away and buys it, yes, they can continue to operate it.
okay, but they'd still have to abide by the same clause of not more than 50% improvements. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, my name is Dennis Box, and first I want to say thank you for continuing the case. Last time I was out of town, and I appreciate the opportunity to be here. Elizabeth did an excellent job outlining this case. The interesting thing about this case is that the use that exists on the property is a non-conforming use. My clients would be able to continue to operate that use. In the past, the property has had up to 60 dogs that have been boarded and kept within the existing building. And what my client wants to do is tear that building down, take the house, which is just north of it, and utilize that for the pet care facility. So this case is interesting in that my client is not wanting to come into an area, put a use in there, and not be a participant. Not only will they run the business, they live just south of the existing facility. So there's 3 buildings. There's the home that my clients live on. There's the metal building. And then there's the house that they want to put the pet care facility. Now the existing metal building is approximately 1,920 square feet. The new building that they'll put the pet care facility in is approximately 1,934 square feet. So we have 2 buildings that are about the same size, but we have one building that's insulated, attractive, nice, and will provide an opportunity to upgrade the facilities and be a nice asset, not only for this community, but for more. My clients, as indicated, live there, and therefore they're not going to do anything that's going to negatively impact the neighbors or themselves. In looking at the questions that were raised by the protesting neighbors the other day, I think it's important that we answer those, and then my client has a presentation she'd like to make, and as you can tell, there's a number of people in support that are here, some of which have signed up. You know, the question about infringing into the neighborhood and causing a nuisance, Sue Minton has handed you all an aerial, and there's actually 3 aerials. The first aerial that you see is dated February 19th, 1995, and as you can tell, the facility was existing at that time. This facility has been in existence since the 70s. It has gone through 2 or 3 different owners, but this will show you that the facility was there long before the neighborhood was ever built. If we go to the second aerial that you all have, it'll show the facility, and as you all are aware, you have parkland that is beautiful back to the west. You have a number of ball diamonds. You have parking. And so when we look at it from a land use standpoint, we think that this area should continue to have the facilities they've had. They just need to be upgraded. And that's what my clients want to do, upgrade the facilities, tear the metal building down and go from there. The third aerial that you all have will show you where my clients live, the existing metal building, which they hope to tear down. If not, they'll continue to operate, but their goal is to do something that's better for the community. And then the brick building, which is to be converted to the doggy daycare. So from our standpoint, we believe that this is a upgrade. The facilities are there. The facilities can integrate and provide an opportunity not only for the people that live in close proximity, but people all around the city of Moore and Oklahoma City. The meeting, and Councilman Kraus, your question was a good one in regard to were we able to resolve the differences. I know a couple weeks ago that was a theme that you tried to get us all to get together and resolve it. In all cases I'm involved in, I always try to do that. Unfortunately, in this case, it's difficult to resolve an issue when there's just a feeling that somebody's dead set against the use that you propose. So in this case, we are not able to resolve the differences. But my client is flexible. My client intends on not only using the building, which is north of the existing facility, but they plan on putting up fencing, which will take care of any noise issues, and she will discuss that with you. In addition, there was some question at the meeting that was held with the protestants about the potential for odors, and my client was more than willing to take care of whatever issues I had to in that regard, including having the dumpster taken out twice a week or whatever this council tells us we need to do. With regard to this use, it's not very often that you're going to see a continuation of use with somebody that lives on the property and somebody that wants to make it better. So in this case, it is unique, and we submit to you, even though there's a substantial protest, we think that the city is better served by allowing us to upgrade and take care of dogs in a manner that in 2014 is much different than it was in the 1970s. You know, there has been some discussion about noise, and if you deal with kennels that have outside runs and nobody's there to watch over them and take care of them, noise can be an issue. I've, over my 35 years, done a number of kennels, but in this facility, my client is willing to commit to this council that we will not only not have dog runs, we're going to have 4 areas that will be exercise areas, but when the dogs go out there, they'll be supervised. And by being supervised, they'll make sure that we don't have any kind of noise issues. The fencing is indicated to be put up on the front of this building and all along our frontage. We're going to put a berm, and we're going to put trees and vegetation, which will not only enhance the look of this area, but it'll also protect in regard to any noise issues that might be out there. Now, to my knowledge, this council has not been charged with any problems on the existing facilities. And so if you take an old metal building with outside runs and you upgrade it to a existing home that's well insulated, you put berm and landscaping all along the frontage, you put fencing up, and you have supervision in regard to any time the dogs are outside, I think you haven't made the situation unpalatable for the neighbors. You made it better. And as indicated, I know of no issues with the existing facilities that have been brought to the city of Moore. So if we look at some of the things that we think are going to be better, obviously the new building, if we're allowed to tear down the metal building, will be better. We agree to cap the number of dogs that we would put within this facility to 35. As indicated over the past years, there has been up to 60 dogs within the existing metal facility. There'll be outdoor dog runs. They'll have sound attenuation. We're going to put up a acoustic block fencing, and Wendy will explain that. The areas will have play areas. It won't just be fences that dogs run in. As indicated, it'll be supervised. We will not allow dogs outside after 8 p.m. All of these things we would agree could be conditioned upon any approval that you might consider in this case. My client is very passionate about dogs, and she's going to explain to you a little bit about her history. But I think it's important when you all consider this application, it's important to note that just south of this facility, my clients live. So they're not some developer that's going to go build something and not be around to make sure it's done correctly. They're a participant in the dog facility, and they are now, and they will continue to be. So we have several people who are going to speak. I'm sure you'll hear from the protesters, but we would appreciate full consideration, knowing that it takes a supermajority for us to get approval. But when you look at this, on balance, we are trying to make a better situation than exists today. And I submit to you, the situation that exists today has not been a problem. It's been an opportunity since the 70s. But in 2014, we believe it's time to upgrade, and we're willing to live there, monitor it, and live with all these conditions. So with that said, Wendy?
Mr. Mayor, Councilman, Manager Reedy, thank you for allowing us to present our vision of what we want to do to change and improve our business. And I hope you'll forgive me, I am nervous, because this is very, very important to me. We have worked all of our lives to be able to develop and produce something like this, and it happens to be in Moore. We're very happy to be here. Our goal is to provide quality, affordable pet care for the residents of Moore and surrounding areas. And I have prepared a small or short presentation for you, if you will allow me to do that. It will give you a little bit of information about who we are, the history of the property, and where we want to go from here. We purchased the property in the fall of 2010 with the intent of continuing the pet boarding services provided by Carlson Kennels, also known as Blue Sky Kennels. And before that, it was Armor Kennels. We have operated uninterrupted with a limited customer base from day one, serving a loyal base of former Carlson Kennel customers and several new customers. These operations were conducted without corporate protection, so in 2013 we did finally incorporate and registered the Harry Paul Group LLC, and we began moving forward to a more traditional business model. So a little bit about who we are. Chuck and I have been involved in dogs since 1986. In that time, we've worked hand in hand with community leaders and state legislators in drafting laws to make life better for our canine companions, including the first puppy mill bill in the 1990s. We've been active members of the Oklahoma City Kennel Club for 24 years, and I even served as vice president for several of those years. We've been involved in many dog charities and organized dog events serving every level of the dog fancy. We've taught training classes, rehabilitated problem animals, judged dog shows, and even operated the metro area's first magazine devoted to pets, all while holding full-time jobs in television news management and customer service training and management. We've also competed at the top level of American dog shows. Our bloodhound Barkley was the #1 bloodhound. He was the #3 hound and #22 overall dog in the country in American Kennel Club competition for several years. In fact, the previous owner, Doug Carlson, showed Barkley to dozens of best in shows throughout the country. They were featured in numerous local and national publications, bringing positive attention to the city of Moore. Barkley was also the first dog to be invited to the state senate to receive commendation, and he was also featured in Oklahoma Today magazine. We understand canine behavior, and we have worked tirelessly during the last 3 decades promoting responsible dog ownership. We have hundreds of hours of practical training in the operation of a boutique dog hotel, combined with our experience in the media, customer service, management, studying dog laws, and extensive experience working with people to make this our ideal business. We have not entered into this venture without extensive research. Historically, as Mr. Box has indicated, boarding kennels were nothing more than chain link runs, chain link kennels. Today, people want more for their pets, and they are expecting higher quality upscale services for them. We're here to deliver those services. To provide a more home-like setting for our clients, the brick building in question will be equipped with comfortable dog suites. Dogs will play in supervised groups in one of our indoor-outdoor play areas, and to accommodate commuters, hours will be from 7 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. daily, and from noon to 2 will be closed for doggy nap time. So let's talk a little bit about the property. We own 3 parcels that make up the 5 acres at 1701 and 1705 North Bryant. The parcels were divided by the Carlson family when the house at 1701 was built in 2006. Until then, the entire property was Zone A1 by the city. The kennel parcel is registered as commercial with Cleveland County. On the west side of Bryant, for the most part, it's all agriculture from 27th to 12th Street. Now Sierra Ridge at 27th and Bryant's under development, but for the most part, it's pretty much undeveloped or agriculture all the way through that whole entire block. Buck Thomas Park completely lines the back half to the west. The Huddleston's 20-acre farm is to the north. Mr. Patterson's unimproved pasture is to the south. The Lost Creek addition is directly across the street of Bryant to the east. Again, a wide shot just to kind of show you where we are out in the middle of this agriculture portion. So just a little bit of history about the property, so to give you a better idea of where we're coming from. In '77, Jim Armour purchased the original 5-acre property and built the kennel to house upland game dogs. Mr. Armour kept his dogs as well as charging other hunters to keep their dogs at the facility. This was common practice in the 70s and 80s. At that time, the purpose-built kennel had 15 outdoor runs, 34 indoor runs, and 4 indoor-outdoor runs for a total of 53 kennels. In '83, a gentleman by the name of Ron Buxton bought the property. Mr. Buxton was a dog show handler. He supported his dog show business by boarding dogs from the Moore and Oklahoma City area. Mr. Buxton moved a mobile home out to the property, and he lived there. And he operated with about a 50-50 mix of show dog clients and public boarding clients. And in fact, Mr. Buxton also cared for several of the city's police dogs for the Moore Police Department at this very facility. In 1993, Mr. Buxton left the business and his apprentice, Doug Carlson, with help from his mother, Rosemary, took over. They continued the business under the name Blue Sky Kennel. Mr. Carlson added 28 stainless steel kennels to the existing facility, and he also operated a little pet grooming business out of the same building. Doug's focus was primarily on his show dogs, and his mother, Rosemary, ran a boarding operation. So in 1999, Rosemary built the house known as 1705. Doug continued to live in the existing mobile home just on the south side of the property. And in fact, water service for both of these homes were supplied by the well from the kennel. So the well from the kennel supplied both of these houses. It was rural as you could get. There was a pasture across the street. There was 2 oil pump jacks out there. I mean, it has been in continuous operation like that. In 2005, Doug wanted to build his own home out on the property, and so to get his mortgage, he had to divide the property up and separate the business from the residential piece, and that is why you see the divisions the way they are. It's a little different, but they had to comply with A2 zoning, so that's why it's divided up into 2-acre parcels. The parcel at 1705 was just kind of left unchanged. Before we even considered buying the property from Doug, we did research. We did talk to our realtor. Our realtor even made contact with city officials to determine if we could continue to operate the current business. Mrs. Shirk was assured that a kennel is an appropriate use of the property. So it was with this information we did make the decision to buy the property and buy the business. So 40 years of use and very few improvements have really taken their toll on the infrastructure. It was clear to us that it wouldn't be long before we had to remodel or rebuild the facility. So we had spent 2 years and hours of planning, designing, talking about what we'd like to have in a new facility to accommodate all the things that we wanted to do. While working through this process, we had several discussions with Mr. Spiegel in the Building Permits Department to make certain that our plans would coincide with city code. We met with him and the contractor from Morton Buildings at Moore City Hall. We presented our plans to make sure everything that we were doing would be legal. We were very clear as to our intention, building an upscale dog hotel on our property to serve the people of Moore. We were met with no resistance or questions regarding the zoning scheme. We presented a preliminary plan for a 15-foot tall, 60 by 100-foot Morton building that would contain 58 suites, suitable for just over 100 dogs. Mr. Spiegel verbally agreed to the concept, and we began our process of trying to find financing and move on with our project. At no time was there ever discussion of nonconformity, grandfather clauses, or inappropriate zoning mentioned during any of our discussions. In fact, we were told, again, that the boarding facility was an appropriate use for agriculture property, and we had no restriction on operations or building size. This echoed throughout the city's zoning scheme. So throughout this entire process, between the time we bought the property to 2012 and 13, when we were working to change the existing building, we have continued to use the indoor portions of the old kennel for our pets. Mrs. Carlson's 9 dogs also spent a great deal of time in the kennel, especially in bad weather. We accepted and continued a limited number of boarder dogs. In December of 2010, we even entered into an agreement to board multiple upland game dogs for Rocky Pollock. We have also boarded dogs from more than 40 other clients in the kennel and adjacent property. As you can see, last May's storms pretty much completely damaged our building and made it just about unusable. In 2013, Miss Rosemary was suffering from Alzheimer's disease, and she was becoming a danger to herself. The decision of her family was to move her back home to be closer to the family, and so she moved to Minnesota. We were suddenly faced with a dilemma: to purchase Mrs. Carlson's property or continue with our building project. We chose to purchase Mrs. Carlson's property. So now we own the entire property developed by Jim Armour from the late 70s. We were of the understanding that the entire 5 acres was similarly zoned and would fit into our plans. So it was at that time we began making plans to convert Mrs. Carlson's property and its brick building into a boutique dog hotel. It just made good fiscal sense to us to use the existing structure than trying to build a new one. This was not a decision that was taken lightly. We had to modify our business plan, reducing our potential guests by nearly 75%. So we came to the conclusion a more home-like atmosphere and a smaller, more loyal client base would fit well into a very customer service-heavy business. This slide shows you our initial plan to modify the existing property. So in August of 2013, we just quickly moved forward to our goal of opening in time for Thanksgiving, Christmas, holiday season. That was our goal at that time. So I went to the planning department in September to get a building permit to convert the existing well to city water, because it is a requirement of the kennel to have electricity on to be able to supply the house with water. If a storm comes in, which has happened several times, the electricity goes out, there's no water over there. So we made the decision to convert over to city water. And another point in fact to show this whole compound out here was tied together at one point. One of the issues the protesters have is about sound. One thing to keep in mind, the previous owners, Doug and Ron, operated out of a metal building that concentrated sound and it amplified it. They were often arriving back home from dog shows late at night. When the dogs were taken from the truck to the kennel, there was a significant amount of noise. The difference between their operation and what we want to do is that we're not transporting dogs in and out of the facility. You know, the memories of lots and lots of dogs and very loud barking is one of the reasons we're attempting to do things differently. There's very little barking in a daycare environment. In fact, sound from the games at the park are louder than dogs will be. And traffic on Bryant is louder than dogs playing. You know, dogs will play and make playful sounds. And we anticipate 4 groups, each with a handler or supervisor, to redirect energies. And if on a rare occasion the dogs do begin to stress bark, then that dog is taken into the facility to address the stress or to allow it to rest separate from the group. I mean, barking is just not an issue with play groups because there's several reasons why a dog will bark. To alarm, that's non-existent in a play group. To communicate, and that's vocalizations, it's not constant barking. Or if they're bored, and that's not an issue in a play group. Again, if there's a barker in the group, they're taken back inside and find out what's going on with the dog. Another way we'll address sound concerns is the installation of landscape berms, not only to reduce sound, but certainly it will beautify the property. It's possible that we'd even include a water feature if we have more space. Once the landscaping is installed, it would certainly provide a little bit more ambient sound to the environment. We've looked into the addition of sound absorbing materials. This is an example of a dog daycare who installed a product called Acoustablock on the fence between her facility and a restaurant. She states she hasn't had any complaints from her neighbors since putting it up on her neighboring fence about a year ago. Here's an example of where this material was used at a residential dog park to pacify neighbors. So what are some of the benefits? You know, why is this service so important to a community like Moore? You know, daycare provides energy release for dogs while their owners are at work. By utilizing daycare several times a week, common neighborhood problems can be reduced. Issues caused by boredom like barking, digging, and roaming have all been solved through pet owners using daycare. By playing all day, pets go home tired, allowing owners to rest after a long day of work and enjoy their animal companions rather than having to spend time entertaining and exercising dogs. And cities with active dog daycare participants experience fewer neighbor complaints and less loose dog calls from bored escapees. And our business will also support and encourage responsible pet ownership and work with clients to create canine good citizens. Some of the neighborhood benefits would include, you know, potentially and hopefully being able to take down the old metal building. Landscaping and beautification will increase property values. Fencing will be disguised and buffer zones created. And even property crime might be reduced as staff will be at the facility during times where many neighbors are at work, putting more eyes on their property. And residents will have a quality local facility to care for their pets during the day or when families have to leave their pets overnight. So the benefits to the city, you know, this is a quality of life business, and every citizen will benefit by having access to high quality, reasonable price pet care. With a city the size of Moore, these services are needed and are in high demand. The city's tax base will also be increased because we'll be doing retail sales and revenue. You've already benefited because we've switched over to city water, and currently we support several organizations, including the American Bloodhound Club, Black and Tan Coonhound Club, Basset Hound Clubs, and the Bella Foundation, and more. This support is through their foster programs and transportation services, and we would offer the same type program to the City of Moore Animal Shelter. As far as the pet benefits goes, again, we've talked a little bit about this. Dogs will be divided into play groups by energy, level, and size. Special care will be taken to the older dogs to make sure they get a proper amount of exercise without overdoing it. All play groups will have designated indoor areas where dogs will be able to play or just hang out with their buddies. The climate controlled rooms will be set up with comfy furniture designed for maximum canine comfort. So the ultimate goal of the Harry Paw Inn is to be a quality of life business in the city of Moore, to do things in a different way, to provide a home-like settings for our citizens' pets, and to meet these needs in a friendly, customer service-oriented atmosphere. We are here to make pets happy. I mean, the issue at hand is a permissive use variance to move our current operation a few yards north into a building we own, on property we own, on property that was left in zoning limbo when the city changed the zoning for the rest of the property. Again, the property's been in use in conjunction with our business since the purchase by Mr. Armour in the 70s. And to remodel or operate out of the existing kennel would present a hardship at this point and would not provide the solutions that the protesters are seeking.
I have a question for you.
Yes, sir.
At what point did you decide not to get the Morton Metal building?
At what point, what,
You,
sir?
you had asked the city to do a Morton Metal building,
Mm-hmm.
and that's when they said the zoning was okay. Where was that gonna go on the property?
We were intending to rebuild the existing Blue Kennel building.
And just curious what changed.
What changed was we had the opportunity to purchase the neighboring business, or the neighboring house,
Okay.
the 0.7 acres.
How do you intend to do the house on the inside, the whole 35 dogs?
We intend to do, build out suites, like little rooms, and also provide smaller suite areas in the house. There's, we're limited to the space in the house. More than likely, we won't have 35 in there. More than likely, it's gonna be closer to 28, 27, somewhere in there.
Okay. Anybody else?
Any other questions?
So how many total dogs are we talking about?
Okay, for the overnight, we're looking at probably 28, 30 dogs overnight. For daycare, probably about the same, maybe 30 to 40 at the most. They just play in daycare and then go home at night.
And how many do you have now?
Right now, on an ongoing basis, we have about 7 that are constantly there all the time. We have clients that bring their dogs out to us throughout the year. We have about 40 clients that do a drop-in, that bring their dogs out to us on an ongoing basis. They don't stay out there though.
Okay.
Are
Anybody
you
else?
going to, if this were to fail, you intend to use that existing kennel to
Yes.
your
Yes, sir.
best that you can?
We would have to either do some modifications to it. There's a lot of damage to it because of the storms. That is part of the hardship that we would be faced with because we did spend the money to purchase the adjacent building. So it would take a lot of work to get that building back into the shape that it would need to be. And we wouldn't be able to do suites. It would be an old-fashioned kennel that would not have any opportunity to lessen the noise in that facility because it is very loud.
So you plan on having a kennel out there one way or the other?
Correct. Exactly.
Okay, we have a lot of people signed up, both for and against, so we'll go ahead and start that, so thank you.
Thank you, sir.
If you would, state your name and your address for the record. Marie Ryan, you get to go first.
My name's Marie Ryan, and I live at 1008 Northwest 24th Street, which is away from the kennel. However, I've known Wendy for many years, and I think that her business would benefit more in many ways, as well as surrounding areas, bringing in revenue into Moore. Moore's had a lot of things happen, especially in the last year with the storms and everything that's been going on. Wendy's trying to help, and I would trust her with all of my animals at any time. And I believe the business is a good thing, and I don't think it's a bad thing. She lives next to a park that's loud. Really, it's a few dogs barking every now and then. I don't know how much of a difference that's gonna be, especially on Bryant with that street being there as well. But I do think that it would benefit more in many ways. And, it's helpful to me when I need to have somebody to take care of my animals. I would trust her with everything. So, thank you.
Thank you very much. Maggie Shirk. I don't know if I said that right. Hope I did.
My name is Maggie Shirk, and I live at 1061 Southwest 81st Street, Oklahoma City. I'm a realtor and have been a realtor for 19 years. I was the realtor involved in the purchase of the original property with the kennel. I've also known the Musgroves for at least 25 years in dog related, because I'm also a member of Oklahoma City Kennel Club and have been for 30 years. I really think this service is the type of service that people that are purchasing a home look at the community. When they want to purchase a home, they look at all the community services. And something like this, I think, would be an asset. I don't believe that it would deter or have any measurable effect on surrounding residential properties' value when you would be listing it for sale. So I don't think we have an effect there. The Musgroves, like I said, are longtime dog owners, and both of them are very professional people. They're wanting to operate a very responsible property. The Musgroves, in my estimation, are an asset to your community. That's why I was happy to place them in Moore when they did purchase their home. And I also think that this facility would be a great asset to the Moore community, and I'd be proud to tell people that that was available to them if they were purchasing a home in Moore. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Steve Hardeman?
Steve Hardeman, 2101 Northeast 18th in Moore. And I'm about 320 feet from the property. And it says here in yours, A2 Suburban Agricultural District, the area and height regulations. A lot improvement A2 Suburban Agriculture shall meet the following requirements. All buildings set back the right of way comply with the following front yard requirements. The minimum depth yard is 50 feet with a minimum of 75 feet on the section line roads. The house is 42 feet from the easement. It's 33 feet too close to the road. And they're wanting to add on to the front of it some kind of awning, drive under. They talked about a berm. I don't see the space for a berm or a fence and a driveway in 42 feet. It's probably more like 41 feet. Anyway, and then Oklahoma City has regulations that it can't be 2,500 feet from a school or a daycare. Well, it's 2,200 feet from a school, 835 feet from a daycare. But I don't know what Moore has no regulations on that I know of, that I've tried to bring up. So, and then I read online today, and it says Chuck Musgrove, this is on Facebook, Monday city council meeting hearing approved for the Doggy Hotel daycare. If you can come support, we would be very thankful. The meeting is at 6:30 at Moore City Hall. And then it has several people made comments down the line here, and I'll get to this one. It says, okay, this is Chuck Musgrove, said, okay, I'll have a bag and some heavy rocks. So if this passed, I don't know who he's talking about. He's gonna bring some heavy rocks, and somebody else was gonna bring a sling for the rocks. Somebody else was bringing torches and pitchforks. This kind of people we wanna have. So, but if the 42 feet is, I mean, you can't, anything could pass if you put it, if it's 42 feet, because it says right here in your law, it cannot be within 42 feet. Thank you.
Thank you. Randy, you want to comment on that?
I thought maybe Elizabeth might be better.
Okay. Elizabeth, did we look that up?
Setbacks.
Well, I don't have my city code with me. I do know that they have larger setbacks on arterial roadways, simply because whenever that roadway is improved, we will need to have adequate setbacks after the widening of that road. As to how the house got built without meeting whatever setback, again, without looking at the code, I'm a little unsure as to whether or not there even is a discrepancy. But if so, that's something that happened.
The house is existing?
The house is existing. I mean, it was built prior to my tenure, so.
Okay, I guess the answer is, can we carry on? If that passes, could they even build it there? Under the code
It's there.
already? Right.
I think it's could possibly go through a board of adjustment on those setbacks.
Well, I'm sure the house wasn't zone commercial at the time, so.
No, I haven't looked at that aspect of it, for the,
Okay,
And the house isn't zone commercial, it's zone residential.
right. Okay,
And I just need
John?
to make a point clear, it's actually zone agriculture, which is
Right, you can put it
different from
any,
either of those.
yeah, you can
so.
put it anywhere you want. Okay,
They don't have 5 acres.
okay, John McDonald?
My name is John McDonald, and I live at 616 Hedgewood and Moore. I've been familiar with the property from the time of Mr. Armour. He is an employer of my brother, and then as well as the Buxtons, and then through the Carlsons and the Musgroves. I'm also an employee of the American Kennel Club, and I just wanted to have a couple of points. The doggy daycare is the future of the daycare dog kenneling facilities in the United States. All across the country, people are converting to this type of thing. People don't want to see their dogs in runs and that sort of thing. They want them tended, they want them managed with all the shows on TV with a Cesar Millan and that sort of thing. These are the types of techniques that the people who run these facilities use. They're trained in them, they're versed in them, they're studied in them. They've been familiar with them, the Musgroves, for over 30 years. I've been friends with the Musgroves for 25 years. We were clients of Buxton's, Carlson's, and now the Musgroves at this kennel facility. When I travel over 200 days a year for the Kennel Club, running dog shows. So I go all over, I see facilities. There's a huge facility in Colorado Springs called Woodman Kennels, houses over 200 and something dogs. They built an actual facility, house, doggy daycare type thing. It's more successful than their kennels right now. They have waiting lists. People come by, they drop them off during the day. They know their dogs are supervised. They get vacations. They have people who come on Tuesday because that's their dog's day, kind of like a Mother's Day out. It's a doggy day out. And it's just the future of the dog care industry. I think even PetSmart and some of the stores have that type of doggy daycare type of thing. They have training classes and that sort of thing with experts. And it's the future. I gotta say, I don't understand the protests of the neighbors, since the kennel has been in existence before anything was ever built there. And it was operating commercially with the agricultural use. If I didn't want to hear airplanes, I wouldn't move next to the airport. But having said that, I've been there for hours and hours, and the dogs aren't loud. Dogs bark for a few minutes, they see a bunny, they bark, they're over it, they move on, they settle back in.